Let's start the show.
For Thursday, December 8th, 2016. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome everyone to this week's episode of our technology podcast. It's a cold morning in San Francisco, so we're going to warm each other up with good company and good storytelling.
You guys warm
Norm,
yourselves up.
And a space heater.
And a space heater. Thank goodness for our office manager who got us a space heater. Thanks, Ryan. So I'm Norm, joined by Jeremy, and back from India and his vacation, Kishore.
Hello.
Holiday
It's
break.
good to be back. I'm enjoying the cold weather. 40s is my wheelhouse.
Dude wore flip-flops here today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Outside of all the broken glass out in front of the tested office, it was a good call.
I like mid-60s. That's my wheelhouse.
Then you're living in the right town.
Yes, exactly. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I'm still kind of fighting some weird jet lag. I got in on Saturday, and we're recording this on a Wednesday, and I'm still sort of waking up at odd
And it
hours.
still feels like Thursday afternoon for you. Yeah. So let's get caught up with your trip, because last week we talked a little about Thanksgiving. We know that you missed Black Friday. You had Thanksgiving in India.
I didn't miss Black Friday.
Oh.
I was in a village in India,
Okay.
and I found a Wi-Fi hotspot, and
Yes.
I participated in Black Friday. It
Really?
was fine. Yeah, I got basically nothing. I got a couple things off Amazon.
It wasn't very exciting.
No, it was pretty terrible.
So some highlights from your trip. How was it?
So I went to Singapore for a few days, and then I went all around Rajasthan, which is a northern state in India. And Singapore, getting off the plane, I had never been there before. Have either of you guys been to Singapore?
I have not. I've only ridden their airlines, which is quite good.
I'm coming to the airlines. But immediately after you get off the plane, you understand why Anthony Bourdain is in love with Singapore. I went to all of these kind of what's called hacker centers, these food markets with all these different stalls, and there's a number of places that have super, super high quality food served out of these kind of like, night markets. I'd tried so many different kinds of noodles and rice dishes and amazing dumplings. I'm in love with century eggs right now. Have you had century eggs?
These are fermented, really old. Oh, I hate century eggs.
Oh, I love century eggs right now. So good.
So tell the story of what a century egg is supposed to be versus how it's actually made.
I actually don't know. I know it's like a fermented egg, and it turns the egg kind of this black purple texture. And I had it in like a porridge, and it was delightful.
Well, it turns it into like a gelatinous thing.
There's nothing appealing about that description.
It looks rotten.
Look at the
rotten.
picture.
Oh,
that looks
God.
great, right?
It's worse and worse.
And it's called a century egg because the idea is that it's supposed to taste like it was in the ground for a century.
Yes. There's like an alkaline salt that transforms
Yeah.
it. It raises the pH of the egg to about 9, somewhere between 9 and 12. Oh, it was great. I had all sorts of like kind of like eel kind of stuff that was incredible.
I bet you like congee.
I do like congee.
Yeah.
You do not like congee?
I don't like congee.
Well, I guess we can't go to Singapore together now, Norm. I was really impressed with Singapore. It's, great food town. Oh, here's the crazy thing I did. I had a $35 cocktail, and it was worth it. I went
American dollars.
Yeah, American dollars. So, but I have a good friend, like one of my oldest friends lives in Singapore, and he's like, we got to go to this Japanese speakeasy. And it's one of those places where you walk in, they're like, hello, Mr. So-and-so, and they like greet you, and then like a secret door opens, and you go through. They have these like club chairs. I still don't know the name of the place we went. That's how sort of exclusive it was. And they just there's a whole show involved in making the drink, and it's just beautiful. It's the best Manhattan I've had in my life.
It was just a Manhattan? It wasn't like just some fancy...
Just a Manhattan, like a bourbon I've never heard of before, served in like some of the best stemware I've ever seen.
Did you speak English the whole time?
Yeah, Singapore is very dominant English territory, even though it's highly multicultural. So that was easy to get around. But I spent most of my time in India. And going around India was fascinating. I went with my family, like my both my wife and son, and then my parents and my brother and his kids came. And we went to some really fascinating off the beat places. We went to this fort that was built in the 1700s, and the family had turned a few of the rooms of this fort into a hotel, like 8 rooms of this fort. And his like great granddad built this thing in the 1700s, and it was beautiful on top of this river. It was called Bainswargar. Really recommend anyone checking it out. Super off the beaten path. You'd go through this village. All of the people in the village were like excited to see like Westerners in town. We got to eat like stuff they grew on the farm across the way from their fort.
Wow.
For dinner, and like look at stars. So we got to see like Mars and Venus up in the sky. India is a challenging place to travel around, though. I will say there's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
There.
Are you saying between towns, between cities, or just
No, just
within the
overall.
context of one?
Overall, I mean, there's a lot of people everywhere. So like Delhi, which is where we flew into, has like 20 million people. So there's traffic everywhere. And there's people everywhere, and that, you know, is not the relaxing vacation I imagine is like sitting in traffic and dealing with lots of people, but there's a lot of beauty. I want to give a shout out to Samuel Hendricks, a tested fan I met at the Taj Mahal.
What? The real Taj Mahal, not the Lego Taj Mahal?
Well, we were in the real Taj Mahal. Like, we're in the hotel, and the elevator opens for us to go up to our room, and my parents are with me, and Sam comes off. He's like, Kishore Hari from Tested.
Wow.
And my mom does this like slow turn to me where like her face just turns and is like so happy. So huge thank you to Sam Hendricks.
Wow.
Follow him at Samuel Hendricks.
That was your Master of None moment.
It totally was.
Checks in the mail.
I do have one other thing or two other things to note. So one, we talked before I left about comparing entertainment systems on different airlines.
Yeah.
So I flew Singapore Airlines, and my travel got a little bit screwed up on the way back, and I had to travel on Cathay Pacific. And I got to compare and contrast in different cabins as well. Man, Singapore is on top. That entertainment unit is great. Now, I haven't compared it to United, which you mentioned before we left.
They may share the same one. It's like you go to these conventions.
Wait, what's so great? I mean, for
it's
me,
highly responsive.
Virgin is the top so far that I've experienced.
Virgin is slow.
Well, not the new one.
The updated version one is still their proprietary one. I believe United shares a same platform.
Cathay
as many
Pacific
other,
had the same platform.
Yeah.
Is it a la carte ordering?
No, but they like Singapore bothers you so much with food that you just like want them to stop. There's so much food. Yeah. Like at one point when they deliver your like personalized Ben and Jerry's ice cream, you're like, I'm okay. I'm good.
Personalized Ben and Jerry ice cream.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad.
You gotta stop flying first class. It's expensive.
The only thing that was terrible about Singapore Airlines is that I watched Suicide Squad on it, and I was like, wow, this movie needs to stop. It was awful.
And you hadn't seen it before.
I hadn't seen it. It was so bad. I had to stop and restart that movie multiple times and force myself through it.
My goodness. Is that a perfect segue into...
No.
Oh, you have more
I
stuff.
have one more thing.
Right.
I have one more thing. Sorry for how long this is. But I will say I watched a lot of movies. Hello, My Name is Doris. One of the best movies I've seen this year.
It's Sally Field.
It's Sally Field, directed by Michael Showalter from formerly of The State, a number of things. Really gorgeous little movie. And I also watched Sing Street, which is by the person that made Once, which is a great little movie.
Oh, okay.
I have a little demo here. So for the audio listeners, I'm going to showcase because here is the story of my trip to India. I'm putting a $1, $5, $10, and $20 bill on the table. All right, Mr. Jeremy Williams.
36.
Okay. I am going to now do something. I'm going to take away the 5, and I'm going to take away essentially the 20. It's really, it's really like taking away.
You disappear from baller status.
I'm going to take these away and ask you how you would handle life if you had to just use like a 10 and a 1.
You'd be tipping a lot more.
More tens.
Are you rounding up or down?
I don't know, Jeremy. That's your question.
I mean, what do you say? You just used. You have more bills in your pocket.
In India, what they did is they demonetized the 500 rupee note and the 1,000 rupee note. By demonetize, I mean demonetize. Like, those bills have no value anymore.
You just took away the two most versatile bills.
I did. I think I took away, the one is obviously probably the most commonly used, but the 20 and 5 are really what we
I don't know,
use
Kishore.
here.
I live in a $5. That's
Wow.
That's how I spend.
Are people not using credit cards everywhere?
No.
Yeah.
So
They don't have Venmo in India?
So they took away the 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee note, and you had to exchange it at a bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to
for smaller bills.
They are basically eliminating the 1,000 rupee, and they're coming out with a new $500 note.
I see.
And the new $500 note is slightly bigger than the old
500 rupee note.
500 rupee note, sorry, is slightly bigger, and ATMs didn't have the right part to
awesome.
dispense it.
It's like the
So they had to
chips.
order new parts.
That's great.
Every ATM in a country of
60
a billion
to
people.
70% of the ATMs that we saw were out of service. The lines at banks were typically about 2 hours long, and they'd run out of money before noontime.
How's the economy affected?
So Goldman Sachs revised down the economic projection for the country by almost a full percentage point based on this currency move.
Wow.
And
that's
this whole
a political decision.
And this whole move was dictated by this idea that there's so many people that are hoarding 20 and 5s, like hard currency, and
Why?
not paying any taxes on it. And so they're forcing them to deposit it in banks. And then if you're over a certain limit,
You have to pay tax.
you have to pay tax on it. And it was a way of getting black money off the market. And so to not signal that, they did this move over a 48-hour period. It was a terrible time to be a foreigner in the country. I feel for the people there, because it hurt the poorest, the lower middle class people more so than anything else. But it was we had to get paid in 100 rupee notes, was essentially one. So you imagine carrying around a stack of 100, 200 of those when you have to change money. It was really fascinating.
That's what I said. I said more bills. That was my solution.
Yeah, that's not a good solution.
It's not a good solution. Did you bring these rupee bills? I want to see the rupee bills.
I did not. I got rid of them as fast as I could.
What is your strategy when you travel internationally with currency? Do you go... Do you book the time to go to the currency exchange? Do you do the airport?
I try to do it in the airport just so I don't have to do it. I mean, I try to be electronic. You get a better exchange rate from your bank than you will anywhere else.
Yep.
While this is all going on, the rupee devalued against the dollar by 4 or 5 rupees, which is a good 6% or so.
Yeah, no good. All right, let's talk about some pop culture.
Oh, why isn't this working again?
Is your audio? Dun,
Oh,
dun.
yeah. There we go.
Dun, 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 dun. So I was largely offline. You gotta catch me up.
Except
A
for
lot of stuff
Black Friday.
happened. Yeah.
Well, I was pretty online.
Yeah, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all pretty underwhelming, I think, this year. Although, yeah, we did talk about that. Movies, a lot of good entertainment has been out this year. I saw Moana.
I saw Moana.
Did you
did
see
not.
Moana?
My son wanted to go see Trolls instead, so I saw Trolls.
My kids want to see that too, and it looks like Rotten Tomatoes gave that a 70-something, so it's not bad, right?
Norm, Trolls was pretty good.
There you go. There you go. Who made that? DreamWorks?
DreamWorks. That screams
I
DreamWorks.
see your
Yeah.
true colors.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
no.
the main song of Trolls.
I don't
No, I took Jeremy, your kids, when we babysat to see the Storks movie, and I enjoyed that, and I wasn't excited about that. But I can't be excited about Trolls.
Trolls was pretty good.
I don't know.
But tell me about Moana.
Guess what? Not as good as Moana.
No,
No way. it could be as good
Moana's
as Moana.
animated film of the year.
The only wow over Kubo, because I
Oh,
really
you know
love
what?
Kubo.
I forgot about that.
You know what?
You're
Yes, over Kubo.
Wow,
I don't know about that.
Kubo brought a tear to my eye.
I think Kubo might win it for me. I wouldn't be surprised if Moana wins it, but I think I like
What
Kubo
has
more.
stuck with you more in the week since watching
The
it?
soundtrack to Moana.
Exactly.
But that's not fair.
No, come on.
Because-
It's a classic Disney film with one of the best soundtracks they've had in a long time.
That's true.
It's catchy and yet dense lyrically.
Wait a minute, The Rock can sing?
The Rock sings.
Yeah, who knew?
The Rock
Wow.
sings a great song. You're welcome. And actually, it's not a very it's only about 5 or 6 songs in the movie. But they're all great songs. Lin-Manuel Miranda sings a song.
And wrote some of them.
And he worked on the lyrics for many of the songs.
I feel like there's a couple of the songs that really smack of Hamilton. And I talked to some other
first
friends
two.
about this. Yes.
The first two. And the ones that he doesn't sing.
Exactly. But that
Right.
one almost sounds like he is singing because it sounds like his kind
And
of
that's why
songwriting.
it's so lyrically, it flows so well.
And I talked to some other people about this, and they disagree. I'd be curious if the Moana fans out there, if they chime in the comments.
And also, the guy who plays Washington in Hamilton, Christopher Jackson, I want to say, I forget the actor's name. He sings the first song as Moana's dad, and also Philippa Sue, who plays Eliza, also sings as Moana's mom.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yes.
Dude, because I swear I thought at one point I heard the Schuyler sisters, and you're telling me I heard at least one of them.
You did. You absolutely did.
I knew it.
And Moana, the actress who plays her, wonderful voice. It really says timeless Disney movie. The short film in the beginning of it was also very charming. I really enjoyed that. Do you remember that? It was a twist on Inside Out.
I'm gonna say it wasn't my favorite.
And not my favorite. It was no Paper Man, but visually loved it.
Yeah.
And wasn't as timeless as Piper that Pixar did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Piper is my favorite short of the year.
The shortline stuff in the beginning of Moana reminded me of Piper, and it made me wonder if that was a related test. When
They don't share technologies.
Disney and Pixar,
No.
You don't think that there's some emails?
Oh, there are emails, but they're completely like RenderMan is used up there, and then
Yeah.
Hyperion is used down
Oh.
as a rendering technology down in
Oh.
Disney. They don't share assets, nothing. But you're right,
Right.
because there's that scene. I mean, just visually, it's lush,
Yeah.
right? And also there are parts of the film that remind me of the Lava short that Pixar did.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Right.
sure. Like
The
Same-
Polynesian,
same
yeah,
ocean?
exactly, same ocean, exactly, volcanoes and stuff, and. But there's a scene where Moana gets she wakes up in the sand and she's covered with sand, and I'm like, wow, this is one of the most beautiful just rendered scenes I've seen in a film, in an animated film.
The only thing I heard about the movie is that it takes a while to get into the meat of it. Is that an inaccurate statement?
yeah, I would say it is.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's just like any Disney film.
I would also say the other thing is it's very much the hero's journey. Like it is Star Wars, it is Joseph Campbell,
Sure.
Hero with 1,000 Faces.
But
You
that's-
have her
you're just-
grandmother is Obi-Wan.
You're describing basically almost every Disney movie to a certain extent.
Yeah, and it
So
does it so well.
But they've really gotten away from the standard princess tale at this point.
That's great.
Yeah. I love that, she just is the chief. Like there's no the story isn't about her fighting to be the chief.
Yeah.
That is just her role, and then she goes on her adventure.
See Moana.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful. Yes, can't recommend enough. Also, can't recommend enough watching Westworld. And we're not going to talk about the ending because out of 3 people here,
Well-
1 person hasn't seen the show yet.
And it's Jeremy. It's
And
not
it's-
the person that has not been in the country. But I will ask you this. Satisfied, unsatisfied?
Satisfied.
I'm
It stuck the landing.
I'm mostly satisfied.
Despite, I think, I agree that we allowed ourselves to spoil some of the satisfaction with the theorizing and with the deep obsessions. I think the obsessions went maybe a little too far, and that's all. That's not the fault of the show at all. That's our fault and the culture of the internet. Despite that, the show still managed to execute those reveals wonderfully, which is something you can't spoil an execution, and also did manage to surprise at the end. And I agree, no one really guessed the end
All right.
of the show.
All right, that's
All I can say.
No, so I'll just put in my one thought. SW was my favorite thing from that episode.
That was great.
And Anthony Hopkins just killed it. He wasn't my favorite character throughout the early run of this show, but man, he is just fantastic. He delivers just fantastic performance episode after episode.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And it is a show that I really want to rewatch almost immediately. I want to watch the whole thing
Yeah,
again.
it does lend itself to that.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple video game events that also happened the past week. You had the Video Game Awards.
Yes.
Did you watch that?
What network is that even on?
Twitch.
Is it just on Twitch?
Wasn't it on Spike TV
It
for
used
a
to
while?
be Spike. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually on
All right.
TV anymore. Who watches it on TV?
Well,
But it's a place that not only are games and developers recognized, the games and the people who make them, but also announcements are made.
would you have guessed that Pokemon Go would be nominated for anything? I mean,
Sure.
besides like most lucrative game.
Was that the category? Yeah, I mean, you can't dismiss like such a phenomenon. Like
I
that.
guess so. Well, it won 2 awards.
What did it win?
It won Best Mobile Handheld Game. I totally disagree. What the
That's
F are they
terrible.
thinking?
The
That's terrible.
Clash of Clans lobbyists failed.
Oh my god!
Unless they're saying like this game actually got people outside.
It's just like what game was the biggest surprise, made the most money compared to investment. I can't believe that won Best Mobile Game.
What would you say deserve mobile game? I mean, there's so many.
Jeez, I couldn't tell you. I honestly, I'm like, there's a pinball game.
Maybe that's
I
why
like more than
that category is impossible to judge because there are too many.
I guess.
Only the ones that rise in terms of awareness to the top are nominated, and awards are all BS anyway.
It also oddly won Best Family Game.
no.
Now, what does that
No.
mean? What does
yeah,
that mean?
see, okay, I get that because it
Really?
brought families together.
Because they go on
Parents-
Pokewalks.
Exactly.
Now, that's true. For me, that was true.
Yeah, it's not a game that you play necessarily in a traditional multiplayer sense as a family.
That's the thing.
Like Mario Kart as a family game,
Yeah.
or but it is I completely see it as a family game.
All right. There you go. That was the big surprise for me. Game of the year. It probably would have been my pick too. Overwatch.
Yeah.
Overwatch is pretty great.
There was that Limbo sequel that was awesome.
Oh,
Inside.
Yeah, Inside. Yeah.
Now that would have been
I didn't play that.
that was the big competition.
Now for an industry that loves celebrating indie developers, there were also indie developers that were celebrated. A lot of things
Witness?
that were not necessarily mainstream. I don't think Witness got. Yeah.
Tell me for as much of a fad that was.
Best independent game actually went to Inside.
Oh.
But I believe Witness was one of the nominees.
You had Doom that won Best Action Game. I think, totally great.
Yeah.
And then
There was an emotional acceptance speech from That Dragon Cancer won
yes.
for Games for Impact. Interesting category.
Yep.
And he got up there, very emotional acceptance speech that he read from his phone. I thought that made me want to play the game because up until then I was like, why would I play a game about this? I can't take it when like kids are hurt in movies or games. But seeing that this guy had his heart in this game to that level, maybe I'll play it.
Yeah. Gosh, I think it was only on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah. I don't know if it was on TV.
Spike TV has too much bar rescue to showcase these days.
Yeah. Any game announcements that were noteworthy?
I didn't actually watch it. So and I didn't see that. There was the PlayStation event, right?
Yeah. So in addition to the Game Awards, there was also PSX in I believe one was Anaheim. That was this week. A couple days. Sony focused event. A lot of things from Sony's upcoming lineup being shown, including PSVR stuff. I think Battlefront PSVR was also shown there.
Well, there's a PSVR X-Wing mission released for Battlefront. I think this week.
I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah. And then you had Last of Us Part 2 announced. Huge deal.
People like that game.
Yeah, have you not played it?
It was very long.
It
man.
is long.
I got maybe halfway through. It's just come on, man. I don't have time for this.
Isn't there going to be just a blowout list of titles for 2017?
I think so.
I mean, because
Hopefully
isn't
both in
Red?
that's, I think, 2018.
Is it 2018?
I don't know if that's 2017 or 2018. They did, yeah. Anyway, it looks good for games. I'm very excited. You had Last Guardian come out. People seem to be liking that. It's mixed reviews, but it's maybe that's a good thing for a game that's supposed to be
Wait, that came out?
It came out. People have it. People reviewed
Mixed
it.
reviews, huh?
Yeah, a little bit mixed reviews, but it's okay. I don't think it's supposed to be a crowd pleaser. I think it's supposed to be a little more thoughtful.
Huh. All right.
And then last bits of pop culture news. Did you guys do your homework?
No,
I did.
I didn't.
I did watch Man vs. Snake.
Oh, thank
and
goodness.
the way I did it was awesome. I used the download feature to watch offline.
Which is what
Netflix.
Jeremy did. You downloaded it when we were sitting here the last time we talked about it.
I'm not saying I have an excuse. I just didn't watch it.
For those who didn't watch last week, Man vs. Snake is a documentary about the game Nibbler.
Yep.
Yeah, which is like Snake, right?
The original Snake game in arcades, and it's about the quest for 1 billion points in a video game.
This is one of the first games that had
the first game, I believe,
that had 9 digits in its score. So turning over the game was the quest.
And apparently, it was filmed at the same time, or they started filming at the same time as King of Kong, and it's many of the same characters that appear. Yeah, it wasn't like
some of the famous
King
gamers.
of Kong, and then so it was concurrent, and it totally ties into that whole Twin Galaxies original arcade scorekeeping movement, and it's a story that it could have been like you could have watched the first 15 minutes of it and there was just a story in the first 15 minutes, but they turn it into a full documentary because there's so much more. There's a whole hero's journey there.
I believe it. So did they go into how you can play a game that long? I mean, how you play Nibbler that long?
Yes.
Because that seems like an impossibility.
Yes.
Endurance was a big...
Not just physical endurance, but the actual technical, how do you approach this game where you keep getting longer and you can't hit yourself?
Oh, no. They don't talk about the technical design of the game. They do interview the game designers, but that's more about the mechanics of like the chips and the boards. And
does the snake stop getting longer at some point? I mean, it seems to me like
you clear the board.
Yeah,
and then just
that's the only way.
And then it gets faster and faster, or something.
Yeah, I think it reached a peak speed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that cares about how you beat Nibbler?
No, there's 2 other people that certainly do.
Yeah,
they were featured in a documentary that was excellent
and
it was
controversial.
Really fascinating. Yeah, it was. There was some weird bits. One of the main gamers is a weirdo.
Yeah,
and
they had characters. So if you talk about Billy Mitchell being the villain and the antagonist maybe of King of Kong, they have a role that someone plays in Man vs. Snake, and it's not Billy Mitchell, and it's not the same type of villain. It's it's like a more sinister villain.
And I don't think they did anything to provoke him. No. I think he's
you tell the story the way documentary tells the story, like the way they film it, the shots, the clips they edit in. But man, this guy really it was like escalating because King of Kong was very clear, black and white, good versus evil, and here there are shades of gray. And Billy Mitchell plays like this outside consulting role. He just steps in as this omnipresent, like, I'm Billy Mitchell.
Yeah, Billy Mitchell would call the people. He'd be like, hey, you're doing a good job. I'm Billy Mitchell.
It sounds like a very nuanced drama.
Oh,
I can't believe you didn't watch this. This is your wheelhouse.
I got to give... I want to talk so much more about it. Walter Day is a big part of both films. And part of it,
scorekeeper for Twin Galaxies.
He wears the referee shirt. This movie dives into some of his background.
He had a very different trip to India than I did.
It's so true.
You got to watch this.
The end credits with Walter Day, it just cracked me up. But there's a moment where, so the protagonist of Man vs. Snake, the guy who was the first to reach 1 billion points, who's coming back to get his score, to reclaim his score, as legend tells it, when he was a kid, he was a contemporary of Billy Mitchell, and the way he reached his score was that Billy Mitchell was the voice behind him when they were both kids at Twin Galaxies, and he was playing Nibbler, Tim McVeigh playing Nibbler. Billy Mitchell was the one who gave him the words of encouragement that got him past the 1 billion point mark. Like, he was the one.
He's the voice of Obi-Wan?
He was, and it was before Billy Mitchell became Billy Mitchell. They were both kids, right? Because they were
he was always Billy Mitchell.
Exactly. So Walter Day tries to recreate that moment. and so you have Tim McVeigh trying to get his 1 billion points, and he's like a 40-year-old man. And Walter Day's like, oh, you're losing it. Let me call Billy. Billy can give you. And he like picks up his flip phone and he calls Billy, and Billy Mitchell's like, what do you want me to do? He goes, just give him your same words of encouragement. You got to do it. You got to do it. Here, Tim, just if you hear Billy's voice, it'll help you. Because he tries to create that same drama from 40 years ago, and he can't.
I just feel like if you tried to play Nibbler right now, Billy Mitchell will eventually call you. Jeremy, you can do this.
Want to buy some hot sauce?
Oh, man. I want to play Nibbler now.
I know. It's a different type of esport. I like those esport heroes and those esports documentaries because I'm really not really that interested in esports as it is today being told in documentary form. It's maybe not to be taken too seriously. And someone who's not going to take it seriously is Will Ferrell, because Will Ferrell has, according to Variety, signed on to do a film, Talladega Nights style, Blades of Glory style.
Oh, is it a film or a TV show?
No, it's a film.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little worried it's going to be too Will Ferrell. You
Like
know,
too pandering. It'll be too Big Bang Theory
over the top,
and not enough Silicon Valley.
Like I think it'll be too semi-pro, where he takes a basketball and throws it at a cheerleader's head in the middle of that movie. Spoiler.
Like they're taking the. You think they'll take the easy esports jokes.
Yeah, I think they'll make fun of like a fat kid playing esports, and it won't.
I mean, you're gonna have your Hollywood archetypes. That's unfortunate. But
Esports is perfect for a Christopher Guest mockumentary, right?
yes,
that would be a good
something
approach.
dry.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Will Ferrell may be too bombastic, but the movie, as yet untitled, will be featuring Will Ferrell as a member of a pro gaming team, with the twist. And this is very much a dodgeball style twist that he's old and busted, and everyone on the team is in their 20s, and he's like a late 40s-year-old guy.
But like new to the game, or he's like a has been?
No, don't know.
All right.
Did you hear about the coach?
No, who's the coach?
Billy Mitchell. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, the question is what game they'll play. Like whether they'll make up a fake game.
All right.
They'll make up a fake game.
Or if they're going to get a license from League of Legends. Because the only way they can get to penetrate the esports audience is to use a real game and to take it seriously.
Oh,
and have those inside jokes.
There's no way they're playing Dota or League of Legends.
Then it becomes The Wizard, where it's like a commercial for that game.
That's fine. I mean, dude, Riot has so much money. They can pay for this.
Yeah.
And it would break them out into a more mainstream.
I don't know. I think it has to be a funny game. I think they probably make up their own.
You think it'd be
Super Smash Brothers?
I
think Smash Brothers.
But I'll bet you'll be able to buy it. No, I bet you'll be able to buy it. If they do make their own game. If they do make their own game, you'll be able to buy it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're making.
I don't know.
They're making games out of movies anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
It's perfect.
It's true. And then one last bit of pop culture news, unless you guys have more stuff to talk about. Netflix also announced that next year, it's going to be a big year not only for games, but for TV shows, as Netflix will debut 20 new unscripted TV shows exclusive to Netflix next year.
Did they announce which ones?
They haven't announced which ones. But
that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Big deal.
20 new ones? Does that mean like Luke Cage season 2 doesn't count?
No.
I believe Mystery Science Theater.
No, it's 20 shows, not 20 new ones.
Is it MST3K one of them? Is it
Yes.
that kind of thing? It's all the things they've subsidized.
We know like that Bill Nye show has got to be one of them. So.
Yeah, so it includes a lot of like competition shows and Ultimate Beastmaster.
I just saw that too.
What?
Ultimate Beastmaster.
What?
What does that mean to you
It's
guys?
a obstacle. Well, I mean, it reminds me of the terrible movie, The Beastmaster.
I think it's gonna want to be like Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, that's what it's
American
looking to
Ninja
be.
Warrior combined with Amazing Race.
Yeah, it looks like athletes from around the world are competing through an obstacle.
Although if someone told me, here's a show that's the Amazing Race combined with Ninja Warrior, I'd be like, well, yeah, okay, sign me up. I want to see that. Yes, please, yes. We're going to spend a lot more time on our butts watching TV and playing video games next year and not getting the exercise that will be monitored by our smartwatches, including now Fitbit's Pebble. Hey guys, Fitbit bought Pebble.
Fitbit didn't just buy Pebble. Pebble is RIP.
Yeah.
It completely shut down. This morning, before we recorded this, they sent messages. They posted on their site, and they sent messages to all the Kickstarter backers that they're ceasing operations immediately.
They're stopping all hardware development.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is disastrous. It was rumored earlier this week, and now it's true. Fitbit is acquiring basically the intellectual property of Pebble and some of its engineering staff and testers, but design, product development, all gone. Pebble as a company and as a product line no longer exists, no matter how their CEO spins it.
You don't think Fitbit is going to try to keep any of the Pebble lines up?
Like the brand?
Yeah.
What about support for existing products?
Oh, support for existing products is probably gone.
Yeah, that's too expensive.
Well, I expect that to be gone. I mean, the way this is worded, it feels like that's gone. I'm just wondering if they're going to try to maintain like the Pebble time.
Why would Fitbit buy them if they weren't interested in the brand?
I think the engineering talent is why they bought them.
So
and some of the other assets.
The question is this indicative of the smartwatch market as a whole, or is this because Pebble mismanaged their product launches and their own customer base?
So I think there's two things to say about that. So there were a couple industry analysts that indicate that even Apple's smartwatch sales are severely going to miss their targets. Mm-hmm. Tim Cook came out and rebutted it directly.
Yes,
which is like,
and the way he
not
rebutted
a good
it wasn't really. If you read between the lines, what he said was that sell-through is great, which means that there are more watches being sold relative to what they ship to stores. But that should just be good inventory management. So they ship half as many to stores, and more of those are being sold.
So yes, the market is soft.
Yep.
1.
Yep.
2. How many Kickstarters did Pebble do? 3? They did 3.
I think 3.
3.
Right, and I think it's important to note before we go too far is that they haven't delivered the rewards on the last Kickstarter.
On the second one.
And backers were notified, and this was for like the Time 2 and a couple other ones. Backers were notified that they won't start getting refunds until March.
Okay, so you mean the third Kickstarter, the most recent one from earlier this year, the one that people already paid money for, the one using Kickstarter as a pre-order system that you pay money in advance for, the thing I've hated about Kickstarter, that failed. The backers, surprise. I'm not surprised.
But I think it goes to the heart of your second question is, does this tell the tale of a certain type of company failing?
Are we talking about Pebble 2, the one that was this year?
Yeah.
From May, it raised $12 million
in pre-orders.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Pebble
Time 2.
Yeah,
Time
Pebble
2.
2, Time 2.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
That was the one.
And also their puck.
Yes, that weird puck thing.
Yeah, so backers of those will get refunds through Kickstarter next March.
Yeah, starting in March. And then if you bought directly from the website, I don't think, as far as I haven't seen any information about when that'll happen.
It's messed up, man.
I think this tells you something about companies that are funded through this Kickstarter mechanism.
No, it doesn't.
No, it tells you company. I mean, So let's talk about the trajectory of Pebble. They had one of the most successful early Kickstarters, first Kickstarters of all time.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that was great for them to literally kickstart their a product line and a company.
Yes.
It took them a while to deliver on that because they were a startup, and I think it was much more successful.
It was also one of the first Kickstarters. Yeah.
And it's a very now classic, scaling problem with Kickstarters, with any crowdsource pre-order campaigns. But then since then, they should have taken investment, and they did take investment, I believe, to then develop their company as a traditional retail operation. The fact they went back to Kickstarter because that's where they felt their audience was, to get the money in advance, to then deliver on a product months later, that shows poor management in how they developed the product. They should have made the product and then put it on sale and given their customers the products.
It worked for them. Can you say it was poor management? Yeah, they basically used Kickstarter as a marketing platform.
Yeah, for the first one.
No, for the second one.
And the second one.
Yeah, which was the
third one is where it felt a little...
If it worked the second time, I'm not surprised they did a third time. What surprises me is that they were in negotiations to be acquired and they did a Kickstarter. Assuming that the negotiations were going on longer than 4 months.
Right, so the rumors were that, who was it? Was it Fossil or some company was going to spend $700 million on Pebble.
Yeah.
And that deal didn't go through. The fact they did it a third time left a really bad taste in my mouth. Like, if you're successful to a point where you have a large customer base and you have a proven track record of developing and selling products, then you should develop and sell the products.
The products should be able to fund the development of the new products.
I agree it's not consistent with the spirit of Kickstarter and how we see it. But it worked for them. So I don't think, from a business standpoint,
it didn't work for the customers.
I don't agree that it was a bad decision. It did work for the customers up until the point where the company got acquired, because everyone knew where to find it. They trust the Kickstarter thing. They feel good about backing this product early, and they get to all that stuff. It worked for them to affect $12 million.
Well, then you're you're basing your company on a business model of promises,
Yes.
of just selling promises.
Yes.
And I don't think that can scale to the wider market. You can't tell for Christmas, you know what? I got you. For Christmas, I backed the Pebble 2 for you, so you'll get it maybe in 8 months, but there could be delays. Let me read the risks. It's a fine print.
It's almost as good as a contribution to the human fund.
People like being along for the development ride.
But there is no development ride in the third-gen product.
Yeah, well, why not? There was.
Because it's a known quantity.
At the point they had put up the third Kickstarter, their product was in Best Buy. And I think that was where it's problematic.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I like Kickstarter being a place for mom and pops and people in their garages to kickstart their ideas. I like that. I'm just saying, from a business standpoint, I get it.
Fair. It's fair. And I do want to acknowledge two things. I still think, even though I wear this LG Urbane, I think the Pebble was my favorite smartwatch that I've ever owned. I owned like the Kickstarter edition from that first run through. And Pebble's legacy is they created this market for watches. One could argue that it would have come along anyways and it was inevitable, but they clearly articulated the space and to a certain extent put Kickstarter on the map. And I think the legacy of this company will be long, and there'll be many obits written in the coming weeks about it, because I think it does have such an important legacy.
I'm not sure that there'll be very favorable obits from the people who backed this last Kickstarter.
No, I mean, if you're just reading online, people still struggle with how they approach Kickstarter. A lot of them are like, I'm an investor in this company, and that's not what Kickstarter professes to be, but how people use the platform.
It's exactly what happened when Oculus was acquired by Facebook. A lot of backlash. And Oculus did right. They gave all those people the free headset when the final version came out.
They did the best they could under this. Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are definitely these risks and perils of crowdfunded campaigns, and we're no stranger to them, as we saw last week with the announcement of the Glowforge delay.
Now, both of you are backers of the Glowforge.
Yeah.
Like, just personally.
Oh, yes. And we've talked on the podcast of just some personal disappointment of not being able to have it when the original ship date was last year.
What was it, like Christmas time? About a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the idea was, they did their pre-order campaign last October, and the hope and the promise was that they would have units started shipping in December, and that's why we were very, very early backers, I believe, because we wanted units in December. And then there have been subsequent delays, and I believe that this campaign was probably more successful than they thought it would be. And you then go, as opposed to having to manufacture and quality control a couple hundred units, we're talking about many thousands of units, and scaling is very difficult. So, we gave them some slack for pushing it for quality control purposes and getting their software right to middle of this year, and then that was pushed to this holiday. And I think a lot of people, we haven't been pushing people, okay, you guys should go back and go forward. This is super exciting. We were excited for it last year. We think there's still a lot of promising technology, but known delays, the stance has been for the past year, you got to wait till they ship a product. I'm not going to take my money out of the pre-order because I want that to be locked in the queue and for that price. But they did announce last week that they are pushing it yet again to next year, and now their target and their promise is that for people who back the pre-order campaign, Jeremy, you and I included, we'll get our personal units by July 31st of 2017.
Before we dive into your reactions to that, for the sake of transparency, you released a video on reviewing the beta unit they sent you.
Yeah, the pre-release unit.
Did you have any idea that a delay of this magnitude was happening?
Not of this magnitude.
No.
Yeah. We were told that it was not gonna that they were gonna make an announcement about shifting the schedule after the video was released.
I think that's important to just know, because when you watch a video like that, you're hoping that it's going to be available soon.
Yeah.
Reaction says backers. Are you surprised? Angry? The pitchforks are out for if you read what the backers are saying.
The Glowforge forums are not a happy place right now. Don't go there if you're depressed.
Yeah.
Personally, I am not. I mean, I'm definitely upset. I'm not happy because I was hoping to have it this December. then we kept getting closer and closer to December. We got into December, still no word. So I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed. That said,
there are two disappointments you can have. You can be disappointed about the expectation of the product, and I think some people are absolutely rightly so. If they were hoping for to have it this year to meet a deadline for some prototyping or some manufacturing.
Yeah, that is not the position I'm in. Like, to be clear, like, this is something I want to hobby around with.
Right.
And there's still nothing in the world like it for this price.
Right.
So I'm happy to wait another 7 months. And the problem is, at this point, I don't trust them.
So that's the other disappointment. The disappointment is that it's yet another delay with not the communication that people would have hoped.
The communication has been totally
that the email
shite.
came out, that the announcement came on there. I think they're doing these monthly updates, but the last update previous to this was we're happy to announce a manufacturing partner, which if you read that update, it reads as, wow, manufacturing partner, guess I'm thinking manufacturing. Production's got to be happening. And who knows when these decisions are made? I mean, they know. But more transparency as to where the product is in its production cycle and whatever the quality control issues. Like the fact that the community members, the people who pre-ordered, were speculating that there were not more than 2 functioning units of Glowforge, which we know that's not the case. We know there are more than them. The fact that that was the actual speculation is bad news.
And the fact that it underscores how bad their communication is, because conspiracy theories arise when in the vacuum.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I mean we know some of the people that work at Glowforge.
Yeah. No, we know Dan.
Yeah, they're good people, and we want to see the product. I think 6 months is what really hurt. Is that it's July 31st or 7 months, however long. Yeah.
I could understand January, February, March.
Yeah, I think most reasonable people got towards like November and were like, it's not going to be here for the holidays.
Because if you're talking about, I mean, we speculate about this all the time with the Oculus launch. If you're talking about having a target ship day of this, how long does it take to actually ramp up and make machines to get that? So if you're, are you actually going to be successful at producing the hundreds of machines a week or 100 machines a month leading up to that? And how much of that is still projection versus your confidence? So I really, really hope they don't push that again. In the meantime, though, we do have our pre-release unit, and we are happy to answer questions that the backers have about the capabilities of the unit. And what we'll be doing is testing it. Because, what we can do, having access, and we're very grateful for that access, is to show the functionality of the machine and to show you its strength and some of its limitations, so you know exactly what you're going to get if you're still on the fence. If you're on the fence either about deciding to back one come next year, next August when they're fulfilled, or if you're thinking about asking for a refund.
Yeah, I've actually never. I've used laser cutters very sporadically. I'd love to try it out as a newbie. And
absolutely. I'm getting the entire tested team involved in it. And I stand by what we said in our video last week, which is that it is mind-blowing that a product like this can exist. And once all the software is working right and the hardware is at full functionality, the fact that you can have a laser cutter running in your home office even, properly set up, is something that we could never have imagined even 5 years ago.
Walking in the tested workshop is sort of like being in that Louis C.K. bit of like you're in an aluminum tube flying across the country, because there's desktop CNC, there's all these desktop like
I'll tell you this, I couldn't
printers, and now
3D printer is probably the oldest thing in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing.
Right. Like I was and I couldn't talk about the story last week, but I was at home doing testing last weekend, and I had a test cuts running on the Glowforge while, supervising it, while also Oculus Touch, testing that, and also firmware updating on the Phantom 4 Pro in the back. And I was like, this is mind-blowing.
Always be testing.
And like these are all technologies that could not have imagined 5 years ago being so readily accessible and practical for consumers. Speaking of 3D printing, we've followed MakerBot and 3D printing since the cupcake, really. Do you remember before Tested started, back when, Jeremy, when you and I were at Future, you ran down to Maximum PC when you were at Future Studios, and you said, have you guys seen this? You guys want to get in on a 3D printer, on a thing that can make things?
I did?
Yeah. You were the one who clued Will and I onto the MakerBot.
It was the MakerBot?
It was the MakerBot, the Cupcake CNC.
I'm so prescient.
It's before Brie Pettis was
This
a
is
name, right?
Yes, and then you were the reason and then I think very, very shortly after, Will and I left Start Tested.
Because I said that?
No, not because you said that, but you were
Could have been the origin story.
But our first MakerBot build was inspired by like your excitement for that product. And we were going to chip in. I think it was like $1,000 or $800 or something for the first cupcake, and we were talking seriously back then. I mean, we had also talked about time sharing a Segway, 10 years ago. Also, we never did that, but we did end up buying the MakerBot, and that's a large part of what we are today. But I call back to that because the story of MakerBot is a cautionary tale for the hype of these type of magical technologies that we're seeing crowdfunded and also emerging as manufacturing gets more democratized. And Backchannel on Medium has this wonderful feature-length story about the whole history of MakerBot, which fills in some of the gaps that from the MakerBot documentary that was on Netflix, I believe, a year ago. You saw the documentary?
No,
right?
I didn't know about that.
Oh, you got more homework.
Is that a must-watch?
It is a must-watch. We're in it.
I haven't seen it.
We're in it.
You're in it?
No, Will's in it. Will interviewing Brie is one of the first clips in the documentary. They didn't credit us. They didn't ask us for the footage. I don't mind. But
took it off
we're
YouTube.
part of the story about the coverage of that. It's called it's called Print the Legend. It was made in 2014, so it's old by now, but it's on Netflix. And it tells the story of the maker movement through the eyes of a 3D printing movement through MakerBot and also Formlabs, and has those concurrently. Those track concurrently, and it's essential viewing.
I'll be damned.
I can't believe you haven't seen it.
No.
All right, I'm adding it to the homework list.
You watch the documentary first, and then read the Backchannel story, which is about a 20-minute read.
This class is getting too much homework.
You have to watch a movie about video games and a 3D printer.
This is why you need a Glowforge, is so you can run 40-minute, 1 hour long, 2 hour long cuts, and then sit there and have your laptop up and watch a documentary or read a story.
What is Backchannel? Is that a
Backchannel was Stephen Levy's his Medium-owned tech feature site. It's really good. They do really good stories, and I think they split off, but they're still hosted on Medium, and it's really, really good.
All right.
We should fly through some of the tech stories because there's one thing we're itching to talk about.
I know how much. We got a little bit of time. Okay, so. We'll quickly talk drones. GoPro, of course, the Karma has been kind of pushed back. They had to recall all of them, but now GoPro has announced that the handheld stabilizer for their Hero 5s, the Hero 5, even though we haven't done a formal review, we do have access to a unit, and we've been using it, and we filmed some more designer concept with it. I've been liking it a lot. I think it has all the built-in stuff that we wish and the UI fixes that we wish the GoPro 4 did.
It's waterproof, isn't it?
And it's waterproof,
That's
has
cool.
an LCD screen, but now you can also buy the stabilizer that works with the Karma, that comes with the Karma drone. It's called the Karma Grip, and it's $300. I think they're shipping that early next year. But it's definitely worth considering if you have a GoPro 5, and I would definitely recommend the GoPro 5. On the smartphone side, there apparently is a bug for iPhone 6s's. The batteries are a little buggy in some of the units. Apple has acknowledged it, which actually tells me you had that same bug,
I
Jeremy?
already brought my phone in to be fixed.
Oh, fantastic.
It's an overheating bug, right?
No. Isn't it an overheating bug? It's a battery issue. So the solution is to replace the battery.
Yeah, but doesn't the battery overheat? Isn't that what the...
Maybe that's it. But yeah,
Apple
and
says
shuts down, right?
Yeah, it shuts down the phones because they were overexposed to ambient air.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Too much air.
So it was in the way the phones were stored after they were manufactured. The fact that Apple acknowledged it tells me that it was actually a bigger problem than they claim. The small number of units relative to how many iPhone 6s they sold, probably a large number of units. So if you have a 6s, take it to your Apple store, get the battery replaced. At least
you can find the serial number list on the online. Check that first.
Yep. At least your phone isn't going to explode on you.
So we're going to talk about
We're going to talk about the Note the Samsung, the Note 7 debacle, because to put a bookend on that, the story, people have now figured out why the phones explode, and it's because of the aggressive design of the Note 7. They tried to make it too thin. Batteries expanded,
shit.
and when batteries expand in a constrained space, explosions, fire, thermodynamics. Rumors for next year. Now, everyone expects Samsung to come out with the Note 8 next year to make up for it. I don't think the Note line is dead.
Wait,
really?
Note 8 or the S8?
Well, they're going to come with the S8.
I wouldn't be surprised to never see a Note again.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
That brand is toast.
Talk about stop it. What are you doing over there?
Come on.
Stand up.
Come on. It's been a little while.
Let's
even
assume
when I'm in airports, like I was in a tiny airport in India and they have Note 7 signs up. Like it was like, this is
worldwide.
That would be a huge debacle because it was a pillar for them.
Yeah.
Their 2-year or their 2 product a year release. You'd have the Galaxy S phone in the spring, and then in the summer you'd have the Note phone.
I'm just saying.
And if you're talking about getting rid of one, they would have to replace it with something. What is it going to be? S and Edge?
Whatever. Google came up with a new brand.
They'll come up with a new brand.
Oh, and this is our new big phone. Yeah, they spent 6 generations of Note getting to the Note to what it was. And it was the phone. I mean, I guess with VR you could use the Galaxy S stuff now with their the gear. Okay, but the S8, the rumors are that it will lose, that they will cut the headphone jack. Big surprise here.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Not
You're kidding me. That's the one advantage they have. That's crazy.
Such a dumb
Why would
call.
they do it? Yeah, if they really consider it an advantage, it would really. Yes.
Oh my god. All right. Well, I hope it's a rumor. I mean, I hope it stays a rumor.
Are they going to take out like phone call making on the phone? What's next?
I don't know. Let's see who's the most courageous. If you have a Nexus phone, you can now get Android 7.1.1, which has a lot of the features that the Pixel phone has previously exclusively.
This pisses me off. So I have a Pixel now.
Hey, better together.
And I'm like, I only have they advertise the Pixel as like having a souped up version of Android Nougat, and now like it's barely souped up.
Share the nougat.
Yeah, I get a Pixel. So one of the big differentiators now, Norm, is I get the Pixel launcher, which makes round icons instead of square ones. Look out. I mean, Google Assistant is still like the big differentiator. And there's they have like a Flux-like component, like the light dimming software package. And still some stuff with Daydream. And they're apparently doing some stuff with the fingerprint sensor on the back that allow you to actually access notifications using your fingerprint sensor.
All right. You okay, Jeremy?
I'm going to turn the heater down. I don't wear glasses, so the radiation's hitting my lenses.
Oh, okay. I'm going to let you do that while I move on to next things. Apple TV, the feature they announced about single sign-in for their apps is finally live in the U.S., so very excited about that. Update on my internet situation. Last week, Kishore, I don't know if you listened, I had signed up for Sonic Internet, but update, have not been reached out yet by Sonic to schedule an appointment for my fiber connection.
I saw them like reaching out to you on Twitter, or they tweeted about the show.
Right. So I'm not asking to be bumped in front of any queue. Definitely don't need that, but I'm just letting people know if you sign up for it in the Bay Area, it's going to take a couple weeks for you to get.
Unless you put it on a podcast.
I guess so. And if you're still looking for computer deals in the holidays, I do want to share that Microsoft has a pretty sweet promotions going on. I think they're doing like 12 days or 16 days, 12 days of promotions. And on the final day, they're doing, I believe, $200 off the Surface Pro 4 and also including the type cover. And so because they didn't do a big Surface Pro update this year, if you're looking for a new laptop, that's the one I would consider getting.
Is the Pro, what do you have?
Surface Book.
Oh, that's a book.
Still
sorry.
too high price. Pro 4 is in the $1,000 range.
Yeah.
It's the MacBook Air competitor, but a fuck ton better. And if you can get $200 off and get the keyboard, then that would make it a no-brainer in comparison to getting that or a MacBook Air. Jeremy, any Bolt updates?
This is not news, I don't think. But if you're into the Chevy Bolt, which is their electric car that's coming out, you can go design one now at Chevy's website.
What are the configuration options?
We knew what the configurations pretty much were. We just didn't know the actual how they priced out.
Okay.
So there's like 2 tiers. There's like the LT and the Premier, and then you got all these different options. Like you need the driver's assist package and stuff like that. That it doesn't do autopilot, but it'll keep you in your lane a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so it has the smart.
No, it doesn't have
cruise control. Adaptive cruise control.
Doesn't have adaptive cruise control, but it does see the lane dividers, and on a slightly curvy road, it will help you out.
Is there 2 battery capacities?
No,
Just one.
just the one.
Oh. So
I think that's smart.
you can get by with the base price at about what is it, $35,000,
Yeah, or 37.
37, and there's some rebate.
Yep. Yeah, federal rebates, it's $7,500, so it's probably 37.5.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's cool. Plus, the manual is now online, so if you're looking for some light reading,
While you're doing some laser cutting, or while you're not
Your homework is
watching
getting bigger and bigger.
a documentary.
Yep.
I'm also excited. Amazon announced retail stores.
This would normally lead our news. Did you watch the video of this?
I did not watch the video, but I get the concept. It's Apple stores.
Oh, no. If you didn't watch the video, you have to watch it. So Amazon launched Amazon Go. They announced a set of grocery stores.
For your inner shoplifter.
Yeah, so the idea they sell in the video is that you scan a card when you enter the store, and then it uses machine learning and computer vision that when you pick an item up off the shelf and put it in your bag, you just walk out, no checkout lines.
What?
It knows what you've
Picked
picked up.
How does it know how much my produce weighs?
Maybe it's the
They
good
just
question.
readjusted the pricing, so they overcharged it, and it's by unit, not by weight.
Produce did not make an appearance.
So
but
this is not like Apple's retail stores where you buy with the Apple app and then walk in, and I always feel really guilty doing that, even though I have no reason to do that.
Wait, you can buy something without talking to somebody?
Yeah, the idea, you know this? So the Apple store,
I forgot about that.
you buy with the app, like an accessory.
Never done it.
And you walk in and you just take it and walk out.
Not comfortable with that.
And like, every time I do it, I'm like, I feel like I can show someone, look, a receipt.
Yeah.
Receipt. I can take this.
Yeah.
But it's to reduce the friction in buying in the store experience, because I don't want to have to wait for someone, especially if they don't have cash registers. You have to wait for someone who's selling an iPhone so that you can pay $30 for a cable.
So how do they safeguard against theft?
They don't. The shrinkage is built in, and maybe the security is trained.
we don't know much about how it actually works.
There's not like an RFID or something in the.
I'm sure the location of the phone, they kind of match that with.
So that when I leave, it like tallies one off, but they
I
knew
think-
because I just bought it.
I think this is like a straight up the NSA store. It is like you're constantly under surveillance with like cameras and like.
Oh, you're talking
everything.
about the Amazon one, yeah,
Yeah.
Amazon Go, and they're opening a lot of these.
Yeah. So I initially was like, this is lame, whatever. And my wife looked at it and was like, this is a way to encourage you to buy more stuff in the store, because they'll just be like, oh, there's no
You don't have to think
transaction.
about
You don't think about
fewer than 10 items.
It's just like when you use a credit card, you're more likely to buy more because you don't physically.
Now,
have
what
to-
are my Prime benefits? So I get Prime cuts of steak or something? What's
I mean, all joking aside, I was at a Target yesterday, and
I'm sorry.
after watching, yes, that's exactly correct. Because after watching this video, I like went and I stood in line for like the self checkout, and it broke, and then I had to go stand in another line. And I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this.
What I want to see is a time lapse video or the computer vision video of what the store camera sees in Amazon Go.
No, but then they'll work around it. They won't do that.
All right, let's attach a GoPro to our heads, and we'll do a 3-way test where we each go into the store and buy our shopping list of things. And
You guys are way too cynical. This was pretty amazing. This is pretty amazing. You got to watch the video.
I mean, I think the way these work is that they're gonna expect a certain amount of slipping through the cracks, right? Like they build that into the business model, and they're fine with that because they believe that the advantage that they get, their margins get smaller, but the advantage they get of
The experience,
For
the customer
scale,
experience is
yes.
going to be so much better.
Yeah.
And Amazon is in information, just like everyone, else that we
It's like
talk about.
Uber.
Yeah, they're going to garner so much information about, even when you pick up something and put it back, maybe they're going to incentivize you the next time you come in.
Right. We thought with Uber, you were trading for convenience, you were trading cost, that you were paying a little more than you would a taxi and getting the convenience. But what we're actually paying is privacy, and you're giving information, and what you're getting is convenience.
By the way, saw one of the Uber self-driving cars
Bolts
on my street last night. It pulled up right next to my house.
Oh, so they're doing residential areas now? Oh, wow, cool. I've only seen them in downtown.
Last story, I think, is that Google Wi-Fi is shipping now.
Google,
this week. So
many mesh networks.
It is. I mean, there's 4 that I know of, right? There's Ubiquity's Amplify, the Eero, Google Wi-Fi, and
is there another one?
Luma.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's 4 that I know of.
Right.
Maybe more coming, but I mean that's not more crowded than going to the router aisle at any store right now. So it is 2016, the year of wireless routers. Let's go.
Now, well, go ahead. I was going to ask Kishore if he had Rogue One tickets.
No.
All right, we'll talk about this afterward.
Now it's time for a moment of science. All right, so this week brought the breakthrough prizes, the self-described Oscars of science. So tech bro billionaires Yuri Milner and Mark Zuckerberg got together with, a set of small other people to create a fund that would recognize some of the top scientists in the world and each give them $3 million as an award for their life's work. And they host an award ceremony that is actually broadcast on TV. It was broadcast on National Geographic on Monday night, and it'll also be on Fox on December 18th. And I got to go to it was at Hangar 1 down at NASA Ames Research Center, but I also went to the symposium the day after where the scientists actually described some of their work. So you want to put me on the clock? Give me 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you about the winners this year. Go. All right. First up, detection of gravitational waves. Ray Weiss, Kip Thorne validated a portion of general relativity.
Well deserved.
Next up was on string theory. There's a theory that was validated. Well, not validated, but a theory that there's actually 2-dimensional islands of strings that come together and vibrate. And there's an amazing calculation that led to that. That one, you've heard of the 3. Jean Bourgain, which is a mathematician, won for, you've heard of the Pythagorean theorem where you can use 2 sides of a triangle to calculate the position of a third. Well, imagine instead of 2 lines, a wave. And he was able to calculate a superposition of that wave using a form of a Pythagorean theorem. It's a very elegant math problem. Stephen Elledge won for discovering processes that DNA uses to repair itself. Harry Noller won for his work in taking first pictures of molecular structure of ribosomes. Ribosomes are basically the protein factories in your cells. Roland Nuss won for discovering the WNT gene, which plays a key role in the development of embryos. Huda Zogby won for the discovery of a mutation of the SCA1 gene, which leads to a very famous neurodegenerative condition which affects about 150,000 people where you lose all motor function. And finally, Yoshinori Yosuma won for his discovery of autophagia, where cells essentially recycle them. They take out the trash. They release autophagosomes, which capture like proteins and other sort of spent junk in your cells, collect them, and then have an enzyme come through and eat them all up. That's it. Those are your 7 winners. Some of these are some of the most important discoveries ever made in the last couple of years.
Glad we spent 3 seconds on them.
One cynical argument is that these are all people that have won Nobel Prizes or Lasker Awards, which are really important medals. They probably don't need the money, but it's hard. You're going to have a hard time finding me argue with recognizing scientists and treating them well. Morgan Freeman actually was the MC of this event.
Oh, the voice of God.
Yeah, exactly. So I encourage people to watch it because it's rare that you get to see scientists this excited. All right, I got 2 stories. We're going to talk a lot about VR in a moment, right?
Yes.
Well, Jeremy, I want you to imagine a scenario where you didn't have to wear a headset, where you didn't have to wear anything.
I'm there.
That I'm going to use transcranial magnetic stimulation to beam the game directly into your brain.
Take my money.
So we have a first study that actually showed this. It was a very sort of small game where a game was essentially beamed directly into your brain.
Wait. Transcranial
Magnetic stimulation.
magnetic stimulation. That's the name of this podcast.
They did this?
It's not. Yes.
They did this.
Yes. There's a paper cited. You can see the actual. They created a representation of what this potentially looks like.
Wait.
Now I know
Is this like waving a tuning fork with magnets next to your head and feeling good? What's the deal?
I know I can go to Target and I can buy a force-powered game where if I think positive thoughts, I cause a ball to levitate.
So no.
That's
This is
easy.
different. That's using functions in your brain to play a game. This is essentially beaming it directly into your brain.
What
so
are
you
they
can
beaming?
visualize it. It's sort of like a
A silhouette of a cat.
no, it was like a
what?
pathway game. This is crazy.
What the fuck? You're telling me that somebody saw something that was beamed into their brain?
But what did they see? What was it?
So there's transcranial
Sherry can't handle
magnetic
it.
stimulation.
Let's get it on a timeshare for this.
This broke Jeremy's brain. It induces something called phosphenes, which actually are kind of like small specks of light that you can sort of perceive in your brain. So you create sort of sensory.
So it's not
projections.
images; it's sensory projections. It's feelings.
What does that mean? Is it emotions? What? Isn't that what you're saying?
Not just emotions. I mean, people were able to actually see this. It's a virtual maze, is what they actually.
But they
created.
didn't stimulate the eye. They stimulated the brain.
Yes.
Oh my God! This is the future. What did they see?
Yeah, it was a virtual maze. It was like a character going
like
through
a
maze.
three-dimensional thing or like a Pac-Man
No,
thing?
2D.
Wait, they saw Pac-Man.
3D.
Wait.
Come on, man.
You bared the lead. Pac-Man beamed to your brain.
Yeah, I don't think there were ghosts. And there was, I
It
think
was
it's
ghostly image.
They saw did they have to wear a blindfold? They had to wear a blindfold, right?
I actually don't know. That's a good question.
They probably
I
had
read the
filter out everything else.
I read the study, but
And
I
then
didn't
what
see-
is it like a ghost-like image? Is it very clear? Can they
I gotta read
can they
through to
texture
see.
map?
It's a.
Can they texture?
What's
map?
the resolution?
We're gonna revisit the story next week because I'm going to find the.
Oh my God!
I imagine in the
here's
future.
the figure that illustrates the
Oh God,
what
yes,
they actually
yes.
saw. It's loading. Come on.
It's
It's like a
what?
stick figure with ladders.
This is
going
a joke.
No.
They actually saw this?
Yes.
in color. That's a color image.
Yes, definitely color.
Now, this looks
Black
like
and white versus color
Okay,
doesn't make a difference.
So think like Lode Runner with 4 colors.
Yep.
Okay, that's what we're seeing here.
So in the future, do you have to train your brain to be more receptive to these images? Is that the deal? Where like you can be better attuned to get the better fidelity, transcranial magnetic imaging.
Here's the crazy part is so it was a maze and they actually had to play the game. They had to like move.
How?
They had to physically move inside the machine and to demonstrate that they did it. And this game had 10 steps. So
What's
when
that?
they physically moved, when they reached that point, they physically moved in the right way. It would let them progress to the next
But they
step.
could have used a gamepad somehow, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would be
they couldn't-
impressed if it was just like,
I knew when I
image do you
read
see?
this-
Tell me what image you see, and then if I was brick wall, done. Like I don't need to even I don't need,
Right.
even need interactivity. Just
Then it's
just-
like Venkman from the opening scene
exactly.
of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, tell me, or Starship Troopers. What's the card?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
You want to see what it looked like for the person in the machine?
how do you know what it looked like for the person? Oh, like when they were
The
sitting
experimental
there.
setup.
Yeah. What's the setup? Was it very much a Ghostbuster setup?
No. It's just like it's very Matrixy.
I don't know. How are you not?
Oh, like a leaning in a chair and then like a
You have
a
a cord
spike in their
coming out.
back.
Yeah.
How did you not come in here today and say, "I got our top story"?
I knew when I read this study that it was going to blow your mind. I'll do a fuller takedown. of
How
it.
can I
I'll
sign
kickstart
up to
that.
try this?
You just want to be a beta tester. Did you not see?
Is there any danger?
Did you not see Black
Yes,
Mirror
the-
season 3 episode 2
No, of
beta
course not.
test?
No, of course not. What? So there is a danger.
Transcranial magnetic stimulation does
That's
have
all
some
he sees.
side effects.
It's all he
yes.
sees for a week. He gets he's stuck with that brick wall and that maze being in his field of view for the rest of his life. That's burning.
When he dreams too, or is that his freedom?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Jeremy and I are going to have a longer conversation about this game. I have one other thing that is probably also equally mind-bending. Nanotubes, we've heard of these before. A group at MIT was able to, and this is sort of a trick that's a little bit of a mystery. They're able to get water inside of a nanotube. And when water is in nanometric space, its phase conditions are a little bit weird. So it doesn't operate under the same, like, water to gas under the same conditions. They were actually able to freeze the water in there. It
expands.
Yeah. But what temperature does water freeze at in normal conditions? Just 0 Celsius, right? It froze at 100 degrees Celsius inside of here.
So when it normally would boil, it froze.
And the idea of this that's really exciting. So A, what the fuck? The B, protons traverse ice 10 times better than in water. So we may have a better electrical conduit system if this holds up. They froze ice at 100 degrees Celsius. That is unreal.
But what are the properties of ice?
Jeremy's still broken
space?
from the game, but this is the one that broke my head. I think it's fascinating because, and it's not just all from pressure. There's other conditions here that drove that factor. I'll link to that paper.
Awesome.
Last thing is that the Build team from the Mythbusters have their new show premiering on December 9th.
Friday.
The White Rabbit Project.
Yeah, excited for that.
I'm definitely going to check it out. I'll encourage everyone else to.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Now, before we jump into the VR Minute, I do want to thank the sponsor who's brought us this episode of This Is Only a Test, and that is Casper Mattresses. Casper is an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price. Mattresses can cost well over $1,500, but Casper mattresses cost $500 for a twin-size mattress, up to $950 for a king, combining springy latex and supportive memory foams to create an award-winning sleep surface with just the right amount of sink and just the right bounce. An in-house team of engineers spent thousands of hours developing the Casper. Its breathable design helps you regulate your temperature throughout the night. Time magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2015. Try Casper for over 3 months, 100 nights, risk-free in your home. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. And Casper mattresses are of course, made in America, even though you'll get free shipping in both U.S. and Canada. Now, listeners of this podcast can get $50 toward any mattress purchase by going to casper.com/test and using the offer code TEST. That's casper.com/test and using the offer code TEST. Terms and conditions apply. And now let's talk about Oculus Touch.
You got the touch. Yeah, that's right. I went there.
And I got the power.
We all got the touch, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
It's all underwhelming now. Now that it's not beamed into my mind.
Do you want to know they transferred 72 bits of information over a 60-minute period? It's the largest transfer of bits through non-direct contact ever.
72 bits. 72. And that image was in 72 bits?
No.
Get the demo scene on this, Jeremy.
No, dude, that wasn't. What are you even talking about?
That's 72 on
You
off.
mean in like beam compression? That image is 72 bits?
That's what the article says.
Get the demo scene on this.
It sounds like they're already on it. Sounds like these guys got their game. What's one side effect from doing this?
You're putting giant magnets around your brain,
So what?
inducing imaging.
Magnets? I'm fine with that.
Oh, there's actually a lot of controversy on TCMS on how it's used to treat various conditions, and people indicate ghost imagery as side effects. It's not like a small thing. But I will tell you, the group that did this is at the University of Washington. I will put in some inquiries and see if we can go visit. How about that?
Oh, my God.
All right.
We got to talk about the touch.
All right.
So it was my kid's birthday last night, so I didn't get to try out the touch till about pretty late. And you've had hands on for a while, so I want to hear more from your perspective before I give you my very short take on it.
Well,
all right.
We've loved the Touch since we first tried it, right? I mean,
Yeah, the thing that we shot the review late last week, and a review came out on Monday. But as Jeremy and I were even doing the review, the thing that we were discussing was, there are nuanced little things that we could inform you about in terms of ergonomics and battery life and accuracy. But having used touch at events like Oculus Connect, both last year and this year, at E3, at GDC, we already got a great sense that hand presence was going to be important, and this was going to be an essential part of the Oculus ecosystem.
it's just a
VR.
comfortable controller.
And the only way we would have not recommended touch is if it was a disaster in terms of its tracking or if the content wasn't there. And that neither of those proved to be the case.
That's right. I mean, as we talked about in the review, there's the downside of you need a third camera in order to get room scale with the Vive. The two lighthouses work great for a very large tracking volume and 360 room scale. With the Touch, the default setup, it's meant for a forward-facing experience, standing forward-facing, with a little bit of leaning, maybe a step or two in every direction.
So it really is a philosophical discussion of what type of games are best in this, the first generation of kind of positionally tracked VR make the most sense. That, are we really constraining developers on the Oculus ecosystem by encouraging these forward-facing games? Or are we missing this huge opportunity to make 360 and also room scale games? And given that Vive has been out for 9 months or 6 months at least, it's almost 9 months now, that with full room scale, we just haven't seen the deluge of room scale essential games.
I don't know if that's a fair criticism because it's chicken and egg. There's not an incentive for developers to put a lot of development money into VR yet.
Yep.
Because there just isn't the installed base. I gotta think that there's some great room scale games to be had. They're just not out there yet. And so maybe it's a generational thing. I mean, maybe we'll see a better tracking. Second gen will have wider room scale by default, and we'll see more room scale opportunities then.
Like
the thing is, like with the games that do support a wide tracking volume, we ended up wanting to progress past those borders anyway, and so we ended up teleporting.
Well, unless you design something to be just in a room.
Well, that's like Job Simulator.
Very
right?
specifically, if your game design is meant to be just in a room,
Right.
whether it's an escape room puzzle or Job Simulator or a large cockpit game, right? Like, those are the places where having your known quantity,
Absolutely.
10 feet by 10 feet, 15 feet by 15 feet area is going to be perfect. But like I said, it's chicken, like you said. Oh, I'm getting static. Like you said, it's chicken and egg because developers who are making those games are also making versions of those games work because the market, at least initially, isn't full room scale. And I know that's where the disappointment comes from. That's where the internet argument comes from, is in the missed opportunity for this first VR generation to be full room scale because of the limitation of front-facing design.
So I got to tell you just off the top, from me cutting open the package to being in touch was less than 10 minutes. And
You already had one of the sensors set up.
yeah, so I had Oculus installed and blah blah blah. I spent more time installing the games than I did setting up the touch. And I think that's so non-trivial about how easy it is to pick up touch and and how natural it was. It was just there instantly. Like, and all of those, when I was watching the video and you were talking about like the thumbs up and the the pointing and all the hand gestures, I was like, oh, that'll probably be a learning curve. Not at all. It was just there immediately.
For me, it was like when I realized I had to stop trying to make the gesture and just make the gesture.
Yeah,
that was the trick for me.
I've moved. I think you go through the learning curve, which is the tutorial forces you try to make a point, try to make a thumbs up. There's some construction going on. I agree, but I'm still finding in games, because games use the gestures differently, like in Dead and Buried, you do the hang time as opposed to... and I still have to think about, okay, how is this game using this variation of my finger arrangement?
Mm-hmm. And no one's supporting the middle finger yet.
Yeah.
I only had a chance to play one game, and I chose the VR sports game partially because they had a hockey game
Yeah,
And
you used to play.
Yeah, I grew up playing hockey, and I played goaltender. So when I was a goalie and I got to inhabit a goalie, I was like, I'm there instantly.
Absolutely.
I totally hurt myself, and I thought I was going to break the controllers because even though Guardian was mapped, I have a small office. I was just like, I just started playing. I was on the floor. I did not play like I was playing a game. I was playing like I was playing an ice hockey game.
Yeah, dude.
Every one of us has knocked the touch controllers into some object unintentionally, and I've done it multiple times. They've been resilient, but Joey was using them, and he straight up hit into like a 4x4.
Oh yeah.
A pole in Frank's shop, and I thought it was going to be broken, but it wasn't. But the fact remains, the immersion level is so high.
I have a hole in my wall, courtesy of Dave Reese.
You really?
Yeah, Vive controller flew straight
Well,
forward.
how's the Vive?
Yeah, well, whatever. It's going to happen on the Touch eventually.
Use the straps, even if you don't use the Guardian walls. Use the straps.
Early in the day, I saw Gary post some comments about not noticing the straps, and Jeremy was on this thread. And I quickly decided that straps were necessary.
Strap up.
Yeah. So the thing that we didn't get to touch too much in the review is just the 50 launch titles, because they announced that after we had shot the review. And we didn't get access to all 50 of those games. A lot of them are familiar games and experiences that we had seen being ported over from the Vive. And we did talk in the review about Vive cross-platform compatibility, which has since been improved. Like haptics are now built in on Vive, on Steam VR when you use the Oculus Touch there.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they did that over the weekend. And also, but the big thing is social. So, because for the review, we got early access, and we can play the games, but there weren't a lot of multiplayer sessions. I know you played the Unspoken, and we did a little bit of Dead and Buried, but since then, we've been doing a lot of multiplayer with the Touch.
Yeah, I think this is a huge topic.
Huge.
Because for me, like, online multiplayer games are always fun compared to single-player games in their own special way. But there's something about VR multiplayer that amps it up. Like, I feel like I'm there with you in a way that is beyond that I
Absolutely.
on 2D screens.
But the friction for getting connected is augmented. The feeling of the difficulty of, if we're just playing Quake and someone can't connect or something, it's not as frustrating as when we're in Dead and Buried and we're trying to get someone to get into the room.
Is that an interface problem, though?
It absolutely is a UI. It's both a UI problem and an infrastructure problem. Like, they don't have their Xbox Live equivalent isn't quite there yet. Their friends list is still in beta.
Yeah.
And also, every game does it differently. Like, the fact that in Arizona Sunshine, we had to create a host and then put these cartridges in, and we were using Skype because you wouldn't hear voice while the games are loading. Like, these are growing pains that they need to fix soon. Otherwise, people aren't going to be playing these games in VR. Now, a lot of people have Touch right now. We have been playing games where people have been dropping into Dead and Buried and into into open games, and that's fine. But the community isn't big enough that we can just rely on that like we could on Xbox or PlayStation. So they need better matchmaking. I don't know if they need serverless, but they need some unified system. But once we get in, we are having a ton of fun. 4-player horde mode.
I've played longer VR sessions than I ever before.
Ever, yeah.
This past week.
Yes, I agree.
I have spent hours easily.
Yeah. Do you get worn out a little bit?
I used to, but whatever it is about this whole social thing, plus with the comfort of Oculus versus the Vive, I think.
Jeremy and I were playing Arizona Sunshine, the campaign, yesterday, and we were literally stuck there in half an hour running around because we couldn't figure out how to progress the next part of level, but we weren't. It was frustrating, but we didn't want to leave because it was still a social experience. We were still chatting. We were still wandering, exploring.
Yeah.
And it was a most silly thing. And it goes to the verbs that you can do in VR that Will talks about a lot. In the campaign, in the first bridge level, there's a locked car, and you're supposed to unlock the car and find a winch inside the car. And we find these pair of keys inside this house that we think have to go with the car, but we can't use the keys to unlock the car because I put the key and there's no place to put it. And so we're there literally for half an hour looking for the winch. We break the windows of the car to see if we can look inside and find the winch. All these VR things that can we break the windows? Yeah, we can break the windows. Let's just try to.
You're in a real escape room almost.
Right, and we're trying to put our heads through the car to see if we can look through it. And it turns out it's the silliest thing. At some point I look at the keys, I bring them up, I'm like, oh, they look like car keys. So they must be car keys. And I realized there are buttons to click to unlock the car. Which is a verb that you wouldn't think about in terms if it was outside a VR game, because I thought of just like you got to move your hands to unlock the car.
Right. And it just went like boop, boop.
It went boop boop, and then it scripted and moved on to the next segment.
Then oddly, the car alarm went off though once we opened it up.
Well, it activated the.
That's very real
But
life.
you had unlocked it though.
I also broken the glass.
Well, okay, so then all the zombies came, and that's when it gets like VR terrifying.
Yeah.
Because we're held up in the house, taking turns emptying our clips into these rushing zombies.
It was.
I got to do this.
And when they get in your personal space,
great.
It's like seriously
I've
frightening.
when I was playing Damage Core, I was very like, this is personal space issues.
Yeah.
And then even games like Ripcoil, which outside of VR would not be exciting, but Jeremy, you and I and Will played and had a ton of fun.
It's like
playing Ripcoil.
Discs of Tron, but not probably as good as that will be once they make it. But it's like a frisbee game where you're trying to throw it past your opponent, so you hit the goal behind them, but you ricochet off the walls. And the cool mechanic is you lean left and right to cause your platform to
slide,
to strafe. And oddly, no motion sickness for me, so good game.
That's also a good example of a game where you could imagine someone making the argument that why isn't this a room scale game? Why aren't I encouraged to go move left and right and actually move around as opposed to just leaning my head? Because you could technically play it sitting down.
That seems more like a Disc of Tron kind of thing, where you're on a disc and you are moving around it.
So, and to which I would say, we got to wait for things like Lone Echo, where it's going to be more moving around and climbing around.
But that's a spinning game. Like, I don't think you necessarily need to move around in that game either in terms of room scale.
But that's 360 at least.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's definitely 360. The other social thing, so we played Dead and Buried Horde mode. I'm loving that. If we really want something, we're ready for the next thing. We're ready for something more intense.
We spent some time in big screen too.
Yeah,
which I hadn't done before, mainly because I'm kind of terrified of hanging out with random people. But it turns out I haven't had a bad experience yet, and I've gotten in there with Gary's the one who said you got to try this. And I think at least as of a couple of days ago, this is actually his favorite app. And we go in there, we're all in a movie theater, and he can project on a huge screen in front of us, on a movie screen, whatever he wants from Netflix or YouTube, and it's perfect frame rate, perfect sound.
Mm-hmm. I saw Norm tweeted out the picture of you walking in there and seeing your guys' video up on the screen.
Yeah, so we popped into, and then people can create their own rooms, and they can be of different designs. It can be theaters, bedrooms, living rooms.
We should watch Man vs. Snake that way.
You guys should.
You would watch it again?
Yeah, I would watch that again. That was good.
I mean, this is the promise of, it was the promise of the movie theater Oculus Video with the Gear VR. When we said that watching a big thing, big image, and having a social experience, but also that Netflix viewing app for Xbox 360.
Right.
Like, this is the logical culmination of that.
I guess so, but this is being there. This is virtual reality.
And not only being there, you have your own desktops. Like, you imagine, like, you have your desktop screen there, which is like a laptop. Everyone has their own little laptop on their laps that they're looking at their own screens. You can beam whatever you want to the shared big screen.
Yes.
And I imagine it'd be fun just browsing the web, hanging out in that space.
Norm wanted to talk about a future project, and he was explaining what was on the web. I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hop in a big screen. And then, like, once we figured out how to set up a private room, we got in there, and it was totally functional.
It's collaborative.
It's like having a meeting. I swear
I
to
was
God.
like, I blew up my web browser. I'm like, okay, I pointed, like, let's get that thing and that thing. Let me scroll down and show you this video. And then we were talking, and it was just like we were there.
Wow.
I mean, it really was as good as being there. It was maybe even better because he could, browse his web and he had all his content and he could share it with me.
Yeah.
But I would totally watch this movie with you.
I totally think we should watch a movie because I'm going to have fun, like, shushing people that are in the theater with us.
Well, you could just mute yourself.
There's a max of 4 people in the entire server, like per room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig that a lot. Some of the other games or other experiences, I can't get enough of Quill. Quill and Medium, and watching people do interesting things in both
Have
of
you
those.
started sculpting yourself in Medium?
So, yes, but I'm not very good. And it's about finding time. Like, what I love when I'm in Medium, what I want is collaboration. I want to be sculpting with other people. I want other people to be there. Anytime I'm in a single player VR experience, I wish it was a multiplayer VR experience. But we did a video with an artist, Dominic Quick, who has been part of the beta program for Oculus Medium, and he had been posting. We reached out to him because we know him, and we saw his post on Facebook using Medium, and he did a sculpting demo for us, and it was incredible. Like watching the workflow of a professional sculptor, adding objects and then smoothing things out, and how fast he worked. Like felt completely natural. And I think everything that we had said previously about sculpting, how like you can do it two ways. You can in VR, you can walk around your virtual sculpture, or you can scale it down and just do it sitting down. He actually mostly sculpts sitting down at his desk and scaling things up, but not requiring that 360 or room scale to get the most out of a 3D sculpture, because you get stereo and you get the ability to rotate an object and to manipulate an object really quickly. It's like zero weight. And you can scale it up and get all your fine details in and scale it down. Yeah, he exposed us to a lot of features. Apparently, like you can increase the resolution, like increase the number of the geometry of your object. Mm-hmm. So you start with a sphere and do a lot of tessellation tricks to give you fake geometry. But as you want to get into more detail, you can actually then say increase geometry, put in more triangles, and then you can get into more nitty-gritty stuff.
Do you think that Medium is already a tool that's ready for professional use?
It's not, because of the tricks they have to do to have it render beautifully in real time. So like, for example, we took the sculptures and we tried to print them out, but once you export them as OBJ files, they're textured, and you load them into an app, they need a lot of cleanup work. Okay. Because there's a lot of stuff that makes it look great in Medium, but then isn't practical in a traditional modeling app. What else with Touch? What other revelations? My hands aren't sore. My legs are sore.
My legs are sore from playing hockey. Very much.
Yeah.
I was diving on the ground, though. I was playing a butterfly goalie.
I think hockey is the best game of the ones that are in there.
I think that there's also, like, when we play a game like Dead and Buried, 2v2 robbery mode, which we have a lot of fun in a standard 2v2 or multiplayer game on the Xbox, it's the thing that differentiates teams are skill, right? Like, yeah, you can get teamed up with with skill and balance. You can team up with a player who's not as great with headshots, and you're going to get destroyed by another team. With VR, the uncertainty and inconsistency of tracking setups, even if everyone has the Oculus, that can be a hindering factor too. Like, if I know that Gary, if I'm playing, I'm just going to say Gary because we were playing with Gary earlier. If I know he's not going to be he doesn't have a space to move around, or he has a setup where he can't get loads to the ground because of some occlusion, then he's going to be able to do less than if I'm playing with you.
That's
and you have a better,
this is
more free form.
This
setup.
is my primary concern, because I have a really small office space, and like how that tracking works in the office space, because the parallel configuration didn't work super well for me with a tight space, because you lose this like area near the desk. Near the desk.
Yeah, which is why I think that the best setup is going to be in the top corners of the room, looking down. Yeah, and then with a camera in the back.
Which is all just going to take a lot of experimentation and a lot of customization for everyone's space.
But regardless of how much volume you actually get perfectly tracked, the limitation that you have, because the size of your play area is different than the size of my play area,
exactly,
is going to change the balance in game.
Totally.
Yeah. So
especially when you're talking room scale stuff.
Yeah. So you want a big tracking space so that the constraints are really just what you're physically capable of.
Yeah. This is the skill.
So that's what I love about VR, especially even the shooting games, which are an easy target. Sorry. But there's no auto aim, right? It's like it's perfect aim, and it's up to you and not shaky.
Right. And at some point, I remember us playing, and Will's like, "Oh, you have to aim in this. That's why you're getting so many more headshots."
Yeah.
If you take your time and aim, you actually get rewarded for it, and it's satisfying.
Can you imagine a scenario where there'd be advantages for even like the small space person? Like you create different confines for yourself, and that would have ramifications in the game.
Absolutely, and I think
that would be amazing.
Yeah, because you adjust your height in the setup. Like a kid playing Dead and Buried, is going to have an easier time getting behind objects and shooting through, and not feeling fatigued, and not getting a Charlie horse the next morning. These are all balance things that we're not going to know about until we have this kind of mass market penetration with the controllers and these games. The other surprising thing for everyone is that how much free content people are getting with Touch. like Dead and Buried, VR Sports Challenge, Unspoken, and they're selling Dead and Buried for what, $40 if you if you don't have the retail bundle,
right?
And then also Medium, Quill, even not Ripcoil. You get Ripcoil for free if you buy any
bundle,
game.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
right?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's only $10, right?
Right. And then there's also that $90 bundle that gets you the Climb, Super Hot, which I think is the best single player touch game so far, King Spray. And then there's also even Epic Games, even though they have Robo Recall coming out next year, they put out the
Bullet Train
demo.
Is that free?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta make a comment about Oculus's pricing on some of these games. I disagree with
You think
the value that you're getting there. I don't think Dead and Buried is a $40 game. Overwatch is a $40 game. I think Dead and Buried is probably $20. It's like with Feral Rights when they released that at some insane price, and then they brought it back down. They're not learning their lesson about that. They're giving away so much free content, and then they're trying to price it high for people who don't get the free content. I don't know if they're trying to balance that out or what, but I wish Oculus would rein in the pricing a little bit. It doesn't seem like there's anything worth these huge prices.
You're saying they're using VR as a crutch for the immersion of VR as a crutch for high pricing as opposed to the amount of actual content you get.
I guess. I mean, I know that they don't want to end up where the App Store ended up, where no one will pay anything over $10.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, these games aren't that big. They're all kind of small scale, thought experiments, with rare exception. I mean, there's a few exceptions to that rule, but it's I want to see value balanced with what you're actually getting.
All right, so.
A lot more about touch is coming.
I know. We have so much more we want to talk about. We're going to use it. I think the thing that I'm agreeing with Jeremy most is that since it's come out, I've been in VR much more on a per day, per night basis. And we'll see if that remains.
For me, that's the multiplayer component.
It is.
I'm really enjoying playing these games with you guys.
And also the reduction in friction, how easy it is just to grab these touch controllers, have the setups be... I know people talk about, the Vive setup actually isn't that complicated. There is a lot of... The difference between having things on light stands and having breakout boxes, it's one of the reasons that I'm not going back to PSVR because there's so much cabling going on. Here it's really one cable, and that's it. One cable and two wireless controllers. And, let's really go quickly into what we've been testing. Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
Oculus Touch.
Oculus Touch. We got reviews of the Phantom 4 Pro coming next week. We did a lot of our touch testing. You saw in a review with the HP Omen, and so we'll have a review of that at the end of this week. I think to give you a teaser for that, the GTX 1070 on a laptop is fast and real sweet, but there were some trade-offs that I didn't like they made in that. Kishore, I know you have the Google Pixel phone.
I have the Pixel now, and I've been testing Daydream with it.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole suite of things coming out, talking about the Assistant. But you want to know what I'm most excited about testing?
Oh.
I need your help with this.
Yes.
It is the Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game, A Klingon Challenge.
Oh, starring Robert O'Reilly.
Yeah.
But not as Gowron.
I know.
All right, here's what we can do. You got to pipe this into big screen somehow.
I have to hook up a VCR to my computer?
Yes.
God.
And then we will play it in big screen.
Oh.
But we have to there's a physical board, too.
Oh, you can't just...
No.
Oh, really?
There's actually a board. We have to do it in real life, IRL.
Oh, we might have to do this in IRL.
I know.
Mentioned on a podcast a few weeks ago.
I will play this. This looks amazing.
Yeah. And we'll be back next week with another episode of This Only Test.
Do the homework with us.
Yes. Watch Man vs. Snake.
Print the legend. Read the story on back channel. And finish Westworld, guys. Watch Moana if you have time too. I know there's a lot of stuff coming out.
What do you think about an actual series, where it's like a tested book club, but it's watch this on Netflix and then we're going to talk about it next week?
How about let's make it part of pop
the show?
culture?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Still Untitled has the whole book reading thing.
Yeah.
I think under.
Do they do that?
Yeah, they do all the books. We'll just focus on TV. in games.
Awesome. We'll see you next week. Do we have an outro this week?
No.
No
I mean, we
outro.
do, but I'm slacked off. It's been I'm just no good at this job.
That's gonna show up in an outro. Right?
God.
All you have to do is Google tested raw outro, and the form link comes up.
No, but somebody sent me some.
And then we are always looking for more outros because
Do. All right, here, I'll go to the outros link, and I'm going to click one. Check this out. Oh, no, you didn't want that one.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, it's fine.
No, Kishore said not that one. This guy, I have to actually copy and paste this link.
Wow.
Hey,
Wow.
if you made it this far in the podcast, nobody cares. Nobody cares that they're...
People care.
Here we go.
Hi there, I didn't see you. Test it.
It tasted like the most intense pea flavor you've ever tasted.
Test it.
See it.